Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Well, the attitude of some La Republic du Cameroon's health officials leave nothing to be desired. This is as a result of the corrupt system of the Bia's regime that has extended its tentacles to the health sector. This is very reason why the regime in place does not trust the caliber of personnel they have fashioned in the different hospitals. This is more of the reason why they prefer to seek medical attention out of the country and not in health facilities in the country. The local population is the one left at the mercy of hospital staffs, some of whom have no empathy for the patients in front of them, and others only thinking of the next available means to make more money out of a situation. This sadly is part of the heartbreaking challenges that Ambazonians have to go through too frequently, which reminds us of an Ambazonian who died awaiting treatment in prison. Speaking of which, the colonial La République du Cameroon's dreaded National Gendarmerie Headquarters, with the French acronym SED, a place reputable for torture and inhumane treatment of those incarcerated there, has had inmates of the La République du Cameroon Kondegi maximum security prison challenge the attempts of La République du Cameroon thugs to transfer Ambazonian peace activist Abdul Karim Ali there, being aware of the harsh treatment those in this barrack go through. Well, we have the full reports to these and so many others in tonight's Undaunted, but that'll be only after the prime headlines.
Right, here are the prime headlines for today. Let's start with students. Students put at risk to fight occupiers in a university land. Woman tricked, detained at City Veterinary District Hospital in Yaoundé. Colonial Governor Adolphe Lele Afrique points accusing fingers on funds. The question is why? Inmates challenge illegal transfer of Abdul Karim to SED. 48 bishops meeting, Archbishop of Nke appeals for end to the human killings. Also tonight, La Republic du Cameroon's so-called reconstruction of Amberland. Well, it seems like it's just another delayed tactics to keep Ambazonians under captivity. Chase for Continental Glory resumes this weekend with Total Energies, CAM Champions League, and the Confederation Cup knockout stages. Well, that's for sports. And on the foreign scene, Eastern European countries are banning Ukrainian produce. We'll find out why. Now let's get the news in detail.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed, with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with selfie.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
Well, it is not acceptable what the administration of the University of Bamenda is putting the students into. The university is putting the students in harm, not just in harm, but in harm's way by using the students to fight those who have occupied what the university claims as her land. The point of interest here is not who is the true owner of the land, but the fact that instead of the university using the law to fight these occupants, the university is rather endangering students who just came to study, to fight. While the students, in an outing to destroy crops cultivated on the said land, were chased by the farmers with machetes. What if some of the students were butchered by these farmers? Oh well, this is where we'll begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, very well, Onyi. Good evening, Amazonians. The University of Bamenda is risking the life of students in an attempt to chase out those who are occupying the university land.
Oh, you're welcome back. Well, the University of Bamenda is risking the lives of students in an attempt to chase out those who are occupying their university land. The students of the College of Technology of the University of Bamenda have been asked by the school administration to destroy crops on acres of land cultivated by the locals. Well, Undaunted gathered that before sending their students on such a dangerous mission, the university authorities have first given a deadline to the farmers to clear the land. Planted on acres of land are being destroyed by students of the University of Bamenda who were allegedly ordered to do so by the administration.
Well, a source says that the students were chased with machetes by some farmers. More than 400 students who came for the farming practice and are being used by the school authorities are from the College of Technology. Well, on to our next report. The heavy rain that has caused a lot of havoc in Boya. Boya, the mountain town of the former British Southern Cameroons, also known as Ambazonia, keeps being affected by the forces of nature. Heavy rains continue to put the people of Southern Cameroons in Boya under difficult living conditions. Since the beginning of this year's rainy season, which started in early March 2023, there has been a lot of material damage as well as loss of lives due to the heavy downpour. Yesterday on Wednesday, April 19th, the storm that came with the rains showed its ugly face. Many rooftops were carried away from buildings. Is it that the roofs were poorly attached to the buildings, or it is all about the strength of the winds that came with the rain?
Well, it was a normal rainfall with abnormal consequences in Boya, the chief town of the Atlantic zone of Amazonia, yesterday, April 19th. The rainstorm that ranged Boya has more devastating effects on buildings, electricity, and roads. Many are counting enormous losses. The rainfall that lasted for about 2 hours caused lots of damages. The electricity high tension pole in Boya was slanted by the winds to a near landing point in the middle of the road, endangering the lives of road users. In Bonduma, the roof of a popular bar called the Martins Complex was completely wrecked.
Well, at the government high school Bokwango, the wind blows off the roofs of some classes at the Cameroon Opportunity Industrialization Center Boya was also affected. The wind removed the roofs of some structures. As compared to the rains of last week that swept a young schoolboy, that of yesterday destroyed only properties without any human casualties. And there is a video to this.
All right, moving on. Let's see what is happening to Abdul Karim.
The colonial La République du Cameroon's dreaded National Gendarmerie Headquarters, with the French acronym SED, is a place reputable for torture and inhumane treatment of those incarcerated there. Aware of the harsh treatment those in the barrack go through, inmates of the La République du Cameroon Kondegi Maximum Security Prison have challenged the attempt of La République du Cameroon thugs to transfer Ambazonia peace activist Abdul Karim Ali to SED. Now, what is the motive behind transferring him to SED?
Well, prisoners at the La République du Cameroon concentration camp condemning maximum security prison have shown solidarity
with the people. ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, welcome back. Sincerest apologies for all the breaks that you so far. And just to get you connected directly to us right now, would start the news from the very beginning. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we started the news by talking about students put at risk to fight occupiers of university land. Well, we told you that it's not acceptable what the administration of the University of Bamenda is putting the students into. The university is putting the students in harm's way by using the students to fight those who have occupied what the university claims as her land. The point of interest here is not who is the true owner of the land, but the fact that instead of the university using the law to fight these occupants, the university is rather endangering students who have just come to study. The students, in an outing to destroy crops cultivated on the said land, were chased by the farmers with machetes. The question is, what if some of the students were butchered by these farmers? What if? Oh well. Star, what do you think?
I mean, it's not usual. It is not the place of the students to go fight for a said land when they're there to study. I mean, this University of Bamenda is risking the lives of students in an attempt to chase out those who are occupying university land. The students of this College of Technology of the University of Bamenda have been asked by the school administration to destroy crops on hectares of land cultivated by the locals. Don't it gather that before sending the students on such a dangerous mission, the university authorities have first given a deadline to the farmers to quit the land. Crops planted on hectares of land are being destroyed by students of the University of Bamenda who were allegedly ordered to do so by the school's administration.
Well, a source says that the students were chased with machetes by some farmers. More than 400 students who came for the farming practice are being used by the school authorities from the College of Technology.
Well, on to another troubling report is the havoc the rains lately has caused in Boya. Boya, the mountain town of the former British Southern Cameroon, has experienced rain. It has been affected by the forces of nature. Heavy rains continue to put the people of southern Cameroon in Boya under difficult living conditions. And since the beginning of this year, rainy season, which started in early March 2023, there has been a lot of material damage as well as loss of lives due to the heavy downpour. Yesterday, Wednesday, April 19th, the storm that came with the rains showed its ugly face. Many rooftops were carried away from buildings, and then we wonder if it's the rooftop that was poorly attached or it's the strength of the wind that came with the rain.
Well, it was a normal rainfall with abnormal consequences in Boyer, chief town of the Atlantic zone of Ambazonia, yesterday, April 19th. The rainstorm that ranged Boyer has more devastating effects on buildings, electricity, and roads, many accounting enormous losses. The rainfall that lasted for about 2 hours caused a lot of damages. The electricity high tension pole in Boyer was slanted by the winds to a near landing point in the middle of the road, endangering the lives of road users. In Bunduma, the roof of a popular bar called the Martins Complex was completely wrecked.
Well, at the government high school Bokwango, the wind blows off the roofs of some classes. At the Cameroon Opportunity Industrialization Center, Boya was also affected, and the winds removed the roofs of some structures. As compared to the rains of last week that swept a young schoolboy that of yesterday destroyed only properties without any human casualties. There is a video for this.
All right, let's move to Abdul Karim. While the Colonial La Republique du Cameroon dreaded a national gendarmerie headquarters, with the French acronym SED is a place reputable for torture and inhuman treatment of those incarcerated there. Aware of the harsh treatment those in this barrack go through, inmates of the La Republique du Cameroon Kondengi Maximum Security Prison have challenged the attempt of La Republique du Cameroon talks to transfer Ambazonian peace activist Abdul Karim Ali to SED. What is the motive behind transferring him to SED?
A very important question, especially when it's very dreaded. Prisoners at the La République du Cameroon's concentration camp Kondegi Maximum Security Prison have shown solidarity by resisting attempts by the La République du Cameroon state authorities to take detained Ambazonia peace activist Abdul Karim Ali back to the dreaded National Gendarmerie Headquarters SED. The prisoners rose in protest on Tuesday, April 18, 2023, after the news made the rounds that Abdul Karim was to be taken back from the prison to SED, where he was likely to be tortured.
Well, accounts confirmed from the prison indicates that the inmates resisted the move, arguing that Abdul Karim will only be taken back to SED if they all go together. Barrister Amongwa Tanye Nicodemus, defense counsel for Abdul Karim, said it was an arbitrary action that shows that the authorities were acting in bad faith. In his words, he says there was no concrete reason as to why they wanted to extract him. I went to SED to find out the reason, and in their usual manner, they said they wanted to confront him with someone under investigation who mentioned his name after interrogation, said Barrister Amongwa.
Well, according to the defense lawyer, the actions was unlawful, given that Abdul Karim is already appearing before the examining magistrate. And quoting the defense lawyer, he said, according to Section 170 of the Criminal Procedure Code, a person appearing before the examining magistrate for interrogations cannot appear again before a police investigator for the offenses charged for already. He also stated Barrister Abungwa continued saying it was an arbitrary extraction for reasons we do not know, but we are very sure that they wanted to extract him so that they will continue to torture him. The procedure to extract an accused person under detention, Barrister Abungwa said, involved getting permission from a judge. The examining magistrate shall inform the defendant during his first appearance that he or she is now under the examining magistrate and therefore may not be held by the police or gendarmerie by the same facts except by a regulatory commission, and that if the inquiry commission confirms the charges, the defendant will now be charged before a competent court, the defense barrister continued explaining.
Well, by failing to follow this procedure, the actions of the SED officials were classed as unlawful. No regulatory commission was created for Abdul, and he is detained at the Kondengi Central Prison. If they are to confront him with someone, they'll have to go and meet him in prison and not extract him on a production warrant by the state prosecutor, Barrister Amungwa. He further said, well, Abdul Karim, who has already spent several months in prison, was supposed to have appeared before the examining magistrate on Monday, April 17th, but this did not happen. It has, therefore, raised questions among human rights advocates as to why authorities wanted him at SED a day later.
Well, on to another report. We have this one here of detainees who were tricked. And the attitude of some La République du Cameroon health officials leaves nothing to be desired. This is as a result of the corrupt system of the Bia's regime that has extended its tentacles to the health sector. And this is the very reason why the regime in place does not trust the caliber of personnel they have fashioned in the different hospitals. That is more of the reason why they prefer to seek medical attention out of the country and not in health facilities in the country.
The local population is the one left at the mercy of the hospital staff, some of whom have no empathy for the patients in front of them, and others only thinking of the next available means to make more money out of a particular situation. A health facility at the heart of the colonial capital of La République du Cameroon, Yaoundé, humiliated a lady for no fault of hers before detaining her in the hospital because of money. Since has a health facility become a detention center?
Well, this is a report on the Site Vert District Hospital in Yaoundé, reported by newsupfront.com of March 30th, 2023. The Site Vert District Hospital in Yaoundé has again brought light to the matter. This time, a lady in her late 20s was held hostage by hospital officials for a bill unknown to the victim. She was still taking her drugs early on Wednesday, 29 March 2023, when her husband received a call from the Site-Vert District Hospital that her presence was needed at the hospital. The 27-year-old nursing mother, Marie Priska, immediately rushed to the health facility, not knowing why she was called. Maria Priska said she arrived there by 10 a.m. As she presented herself, the director welcomed her and immediately presented a bill of 117,000 francs CFA to her that she left without paying. Maria Priska was hospitalized in the hospital on 8th of March 2023, and after she underwent a cesarean section following a complicacy 5 days after, on March 13th, she was discharged from the hospital. She says, before we left, my husband asked for the bills, and the hospital, infirmary, and surgeon gave us a bill of 100,000 francs CFA plus 15,000 francs CFA for hospitalization, which we paid. This is what she told News Upfront.
Well, that March 13, the couple left the hospital under the watchful eyes of everyone. They revisited the hospital twice for routine checkups, and on both occasions, they were well received 17 days after they left. Well, the story changed. The director of the City Vet District Hospital was categorical when he decided to hold the lady hostage at the hospital until the new bill is cleared. Well, the husband says, I was shocked to hear from my wife that I still have a bill to pay at the hospital. They have been home for 3 weeks, and their only worry was the health of the woman who was still suffering from the stitches. Now, according to Maria Priska, she says, I spent the night at the hospital inside the maternity ward with all the mosquitoes. They said I would only leave when I must have paid the bills.
Well, in the beginning, all attempts to get her husband involved were to no avail. She said, I asked them to call my husband, but they said they do not have anything to do with him, that I was their patient, not my husband. Even when her husband showed up at the hospital, they initially refused her to step out to meet him. She says they treated her as if she were a thief. According to the director of the hospital, the new amount was supposed to feature in the initial bill presented to the patient. And she's asking, is it her fault that they failed to do their job well? How was the husband even supposed to believe the story 3 weeks after? Well, the inhumane treatment, Marie Priska left her home that day without taking her bath. She spent the night at the Cité Vert District Hospital without taking her bath. When she arrived at the hospital on Thursday, 30th March, she was sitting alone on one of the beds in the maternity ward, looking very weak. She says her health is not the best, and she has not taken her drugs since the previous day.
Well, the nursing mother left a 12-month-old baby at home before being held hostage at the hospital. The baby was deprived of breast milk. Well, this is pure banditry. How come a hospital is holding people hostage? This is what an aunt to Maria Priska said, who has been taking care of her since she was held at the facility. It's my aunt who is taking care of me here. No one seems to care. She has been bringing me food, Maria said. Well, to those people, I don't even have the right to go outside for no reason. She was referring to the nurses around her. She said, even to go and buy food, I am not allowed to go. She's asking, what's the way forward? Well, the director of the hospital was firm in his decision. He says, pay the bill and take your wife home. Well, he said as he received the husband in his office. As the negotiation continued, the director at one point noticed that the aunt of Maria was not in support of his idea, and he then asked her to leave the office. Maria's husband was left alone with the director in his office. He pressured her to sign an engagement that will pay the amount. Now, that's what the husband said.
Well, the director insisted that to take his wife home, he must pay an advance sum of 50,000 francs CFA, and by the time they were leaving the hospital, the husband was rushing around to get money for the bill. Later, Undaunted gathered from beyond that Mary Prisco was released on Thursday, 30th March 2023 by 6 p.m., obviously after the payment of the advance 50,000 francs CFA. The leftover 67,000 francs CFA is still pending.
Oh well, the hospital turned detention facility. Critics are questioning why a district hospital would take it upon itself to trick a patient and detain her on the hospital premises. News upfront learned that nurses at the hospital were playing the role of police officers, preventing Maria from stepping out of the maternity ward. Has the hospital become a detention facility? We're still asking. Well, this is a picture of the health institution in the hospital. Well, you can see that from Maria's picture already.
Well, onto this very interesting part, they say train a child in a way he should grow so that when he comes of age, he will not depart from it. A little spanking will not kill a child. These are some of the lines from the Holy Scripture that says, train up a child in the way he should go. Concerning correcting a child, English equally holds it that spare not the rod and spoil the child. But inasmuch as inflicting corporal pains on a child has become a measure of correction in the African world that was very much effective in Ambazonian setting, how it is conducted also matters. Beating a child to make him or her conscious of wrongdoing is different from beating a child like a snake. Many people flare a lot in their anger towards a child, and in most cases have not had amazing outcomes. Even though a corporal punishment is prohibited in schools in Cameroon, there is no measure put in place for such not to take place at home. A lady has beaten her 13-year-old son in the name of correction to death in the political capital of La Republique, Yaoundé. What exactly made her so mad at her son to the point of beating him that much?
Well, a lady whose name Undaunted got at Sylvie from Bali Younger, Midland zone of Amazonia, has reportedly beaten her biological son to death. A source familiar with the story said that Sylvie is a biological mother of Bright who lives in Nigeria, a neighboring country to Amazonia. Sylvie is said to have returned to Cameroon for the treatment of her eyes. Upon arrival, she had multiple complaints about her son Bright, who lives with her sister Loveline at SOA Yaoundé.
Well, our sources further hints to us that among the multiple complaints levied against the 13-year-old is that he is homosexual and doesn't sleep in the house. For close to 3 days, Bright has been sleeping outside due to fear of what his mother, Sylvie, may do. A Bali Younger-born University of Yaoundé saw a student brought Bright back home. Little did she know that she was leading him to his early grave. Upon arrival, the aunt with whom Bright lives, Loveline, was at work. The aunt works at the Yaoundé Finance Department. Sylvie, the child's mother, aided by Loveline's 2 children, tortured Bright mercilessly to death.
Well, our source further hints to us that Bright, before his demise, pleaded for water and his mother refused to offer him a glass of water. He was rushed to the hospital. As he arrived at the hospital, Bright requested to see his mother and breathed his last. Bright's mother has been arrested by the Bali Younger youths of SOA, along with her sister's children who aided her in killing her son. They were then handed over to the SOA La Republique Gendarmerie. Meanwhile, Bright's body has been taken to the mortuary at the SOA General Hospital.
Well, onto this other part, there's so much happening in Amazonia, and we cannot skip this part of the funds. The ongoing conflict in former British Southern Cameroon, known as Amazonia, has brought a lot of revelation to the caliber of custodians of the tradition the different palaces are having. Many Fons who fail to stand by their people have fled their palaces. These categories of Fons have sided with the La Republique du Cameroon's government and are now taking refuge at the colonial capital of La Republique du Cameroon, Yaoundé.
While other Fons that denied La Republique du Cameroon politicking are still in their palaces, Today, these funds are being accused of working with Ambazonia restoration fighters. The colonial governor of the Northwest, Adolf Lily Afrique, has accused this group of funds of fortifying Ambazonia restoration forces. Does it mean funds must abandon their palaces for the colonial governor to know that they are neutral?
Well, the colonial governor of the colonial Northwest region, Adolphe Lely Lafrique, has accused funds of fortifying Amba fighters. He made this statement at the 10th ordinary session of the Colonial Northwest Regional Assembly, Monday 17, 2023. Adolphe Lely Lafrique, in an address to the funds, accused these custodians of the tradition of fortifying the Ambazonian fighters. This accusation is coming at a time the colonial La République du Cameroon military has been unable to penetrate the inner core to dismantle the Ambazonian restoration forces.
Well, of course, the Ambazonia restoration forces have been fortified, but not only by man or witch doctors, but by the gods of the land in Ambazonia. Well, the 10th session of the Colonial Regional Assembly, which had to take place in March, but instead took place this April, was dedicated to the presentation and evaluation of the level of budgetary execution, administrative accounts, management accounts, and the stores accounts for the year 2022, and report on the peace building initiative in all the 7 counties.
On to more promises, failed promises of La République du Cameroon. We're wondering how long the people of Southern Cameroon will choose to be fooled. Promises have been made, but then how many has been achieved? Let's focus on the road, the ring road, that has been promised by former colonial La République du Cameroon's President Ahidjo for over 60 years, that has not started before he even left office, and after 24 years and died in exile in Senegal. His successor and President Biya in April 1983 made the same promise, adding that he was going to supervise the ring road construction himself. Behold, 40 years gone, and La République du Cameroon's dementia had long forgotten that he made a promise as such.
Well, La République du Cameroon is a failed state barely existing on life support. That's why even France, its master and mentor, who promised to support the reconstruction of the war-torn Amberland with 400 million francs CFA, has been reticent, seeing the trend of the Ambazonian War of Independence swinging in his disfavor. Well, the dollar question ABC Amber TV now asks, it was the Yaoundé colonial junta counting on miracles to reconstruct while the war rages on. No ceasefire, no peace settlement, no negotiation to end hostilities. Yet, the Yaoundé junta put up a fake Marshall Plan for reconstruction. This was truly a big distraction, as Ambazonian blood keeps flowing under the watchful eyes of the world since 7 years and counting.
Well, in order to maintain Ambazonia under the colonial barbaric genocidal La République's yoke till forever maybe, the traitor drew this other ploy or prey called reconstruction to cover 18 years to keep the occupier exploiting the Ambazonian soil, fooling the world things are back to normal. As a matter of fact, La République du Cameroon survives thanks to proceeds from the oil refinery based in Victoria and the Cameroon Development Corporation, CDC, with headquarters still in Bota, Victoria local government area.
Well, this plan is already 5 years gone, with 13 years remaining, with nothing visible across Amberland. Reason why ABC Amber TV News keeps asking if the Yaoundé colonial junta was counting on miracles to reconstruct while the war rages on. La République du Cameroon soldiers are still being brought down and posted in body bags by the brave Ambazonia restoration forces. Its colonial La République du Cameroon soldiers, afraid to confront the valiant ARFs, keeps retaliating by burning homes, villages, looting, and arresting the vulnerable women and the aged whom they rape and kill.
La République du Cameroon's colonial government has admitted that fighting between Ambazonian Restoration Forces and its troops is slowing reconstruction of homes, schools, hospitals, and other public buildings in war-torn Amazonia. Colonial Yaoundé authorities say in the 3 years since the launch of a reconstruction plan for thousands of homes and hundreds of public buildings damaged in the 7-year armed conflict, it hasn't been easy because of the ongoing war. Where then the miracles? The colonial La République du Cameroon authorities admitted their failure for the first time publicly in a broadcast on their propaganda media wing CRTV last Tuesday, April 4th, and on April 19th in a panel discussion on a local television Equinox. La Republique's Iran boy Ebouné Confiance was given a knockout still by francophone panelists who see with objective eyes that the attempt at reconstructing Amazonia when the war was still in motion was ill-timed and a total failure. First, La République du Cameroon is bankrupt and very broke, and donor countries are very skeptical and reticent to loan her money because La République's live wire Amazonia is about to part ways. Objective observers have described that La République calls reconstruction as mere rehabilitation works carried haphazardly in some schools and water points, leaving aside burnt villages, homes, roads, which are still being destroyed by ravaging war of independence.
Well, they argue that if La République du Cameroon was wise and not playing for time, they could have started rebuilding homes and villages they razed to permit their displaced denizens come back and settle, but they go about making noise about a return to normalcy when people are still being killed and houses set ablaze on a daily basis. Colonial Yaoundé in 2020 launched a reconstruction and development plan across war-torn Amazonia, and the colonial genocidal government promised to reconstruct 12,000 private homes, schools, hospitals, bridges, and markets that are being destroyed or damaged in the course of the war. After a visit to the war-torn Amba land last week, Colonial Yaoundé errand boys said the reconstruction plan would need an additional $100 million to rebuild from the 7 years of fighting and counting.
Well, the original plan called for $150 million in rebuilding cost, and since 5 years, only 13 billion francs CFA has come in, especially from Japan, as France, the main actor, has become reticent and unwilling to
Africa's best. ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. Untold stories, Africa's best.
Well, some of the people La Republic du Cameroon has been using to kill the revolution includes their colonial La Republic du Cameroon governors in Ambaland, colonial La Republic du Cameroon members of government, CPDM pages, MP, senators, and mayors of Amber extraction, and their colonial occupier military commanders. Some men of God, especially some archbishops and some bishops, the PCC moderators. Should we say the entire clergy has been compromised? Well, some activists, the ADF, Egofc, Chuayaba Capo Daniel, L. Smith, Abobala, Ayuktabe, Munzio, Ayangwe, Akuro, Fontem, Neber, Chris Anu, Commenter, Marianter, Nachop, Mark Barata, Tapangivo, Akwanga, Bo, Ebini, Ekwanya, Colonia Banque, and Ekoeko Maximo. Well, some of them are in Kondengi, and all these years, La Republic du Cameroon and its cause have failed woefully, watching the most resilient liberator, Dr. Sako, and his steadfast interim government weathering the storms with a variant ARFs on the home front.
Well, the Sako-led interim government, the People's Interim Government, says Amazonia needs justice, not just peace, and is ready to meet at a genuine negotiations table with acceptable mediators to discuss themes of separations come sun or rain. Now let's take a look at another very sad news reaching Undaunted that says 3 young men, Bassi, Tony, and Brolin, left their homes on Monday, April 17th, 2023 for the farm and have not returned until this moment. The questions arising from this incident are so many. So many wonder, have the rains and the recurrent floods that seem to have come to stay these days in Boya swept them all 3 with no survivor to tell the story? Or has the infamous Moja Moja and his extinction style of mammals clashed or collided with them? Has the family consulted Moja Moja's torture chambers? Are they victims of the colonial La Republic du Cameroon's terrorists, BIRs, who suspect any Ambazonian youth as an Amber boy restoration fighter and killed them?
More intriguing, people wonder if the occultist sects have gotten a hold of them, as that's not new anymore in the Cameroons. What really happened is a question, especially when the 3 making in question are not teenagers. The families, at least, want to see their remains, that is, if they are dead. Besides the generalized insecurity in their entire land, due to the ongoing War of Independence, Fako County has been restive these past days. Violators of Monday Ghoston have not had it easy. The floods took away 3 innocent lives, including a schoolboy, and the Colonial La Republic du Cameroon terrorist soldiers killed 2 innocent denizens, including a female Boyer University graduate operating a call box just to meet ends meet.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Well, the war in Ambazonia has not been beautiful for anyone, not even those in La Republic or Ambazonia. At the 48th Bishops' meeting, we have Archbishop Nkea ironically appealing for the end to human killings. Opening the assembly, Andrew Nkea, who must have forgotten that Amazonia needs justice, not just peace, said, "We all military, ARFs, everybody must realize that force can never bring peace and that we all must pray, love one another, and collaborate with each other in dialogue." Well, Undaunted is still wondering what type of dialogue he's talking about when La Republic, which he strongly supports, has turned down every opportunity for genuine dialogue. Again, without asking himself what became of the Grand National monologue or help Amazonia?
Oh, well, ABC Amba TV News gathered that the president of the Colonial Republic of Cameroon's National Episcopal Conference, Andrew Nkier, is calling on Cameroonians to stop killing one another and to desist from violence. He was speaking during the opening of the 48th Plenary Assembly of the National Episcopal Conference of the Republic of Cameroon on the 18th day of April 2023. In his words, he says, no matter the situation, the fifth commandment says, thou shalt not kill. And we are begging Cameroonians to stop killing one another. It is only with this mentality that we can continue to live in peace. This is what His Grace Andrew Nkia said. He goes on to say, we all military Amazonian freedom fighters. Well, who are the freedom fighters? I'm sure he's not referring to the Amazonian Restoration Forces. Well, he says everybody must realize that force can never bring peace and that we all must pray. He says love one another and collaborate with each other in dialogue, and that will give us a durable peace. That's what he's saying.
Well, the bishops' meeting is taking place at the National Episcopal Conference Center in the colonial capital Yaoundé, attended by bishops from all dioceses in La République du Cameroon. The meeting extends to a week during which bishops discuss issues affecting the church and the country. The president of the National Episcopal Conference told the press that the focus of this session is to examine the works of our commission, he said, the 14 commissions of the National Episcopal Conference, and secondly, to examine some of the daily issues that affect our social and our political life within La République du Cameroon.
Well, he went ahead to say that the bishops will look at some of their social malaise, their high prices, good and every basic necessity in La République du Cameroon, the lack of peace in the country and insecurity. He says we are going to see how we, the bishops, can collaborate together to make sure that the institution is better. Now, during the opening session on Tuesday, the Archbishop of Yaoundé, His Grace Jean Mbaga, who is hosting their 48th plenary session, welcomed his peers and expressed hope that the peace of the risen Lord would strengthen them throughout the meeting. He also hoped that the meeting, which is taking place in Yaoundé, would bring blessings to the people of the host diocese.
The week-long meeting shall wrap up with resolutions. Unfortunately for the denizens, the clergy of all the denominations in La République du Cameroon have chosen another path as they wine and dine virtually, like CPDM militias with the Yaoundé junta. They are corrupt and usually the genocidal regime in Yaoundé sponsors such meetings, provide luxury cars for every bishop, and spoil them with banknotes in such a way that they end up singing praises to the regime that has not done so much good. As it is commonly said here, one does not bite the finger that feeds him. And the status quo moves on for 40, 60 years unperturbed. It's only God who could help this God-ordained struggle.
People were paying about 5,000 francs to leave from Benue to turn around and eventually reach Canada. Since the people are coming without crying, there is relative peace according to the bishop. It means that he blesses the people and peace is reigning. You are talking about the route to Fundo. The other day you were reporting people who were caught their vehicles seized, other things seized and all the like. Since the people were not killed, there is relative peace. You are talking about the military officer or whoever in Bamboo who shot the masquerade and has not been sleeping. Since he is not sleeping and he's lying in his bed and the archbishop is free, there is no problem. The man has gone. We are talking about the digging of corpses of Elekan people. After the Elekan man died, the elections passed peacefully. The relative calm according to the bishop. So you are talking in your news round of this morning. You said when the general was talking, he mentioned about whether it's 34 or 35 people died within 1 month or within a certain period. Since those 35 people died and they were buried without somebody blocking the grave, there's relative peace according to the archbishop.
That was a report. That was a report by the military report given according to the VOA report. Was not by the general.
Okay. A report of 35 people. Those are human beings, so just going like that. And the archbishop is not even able to even utter it at 35 people aside. He is saying that the relative camp, schools have started, just like somebody saying that they constructed a school for him. And since they constructed his school, that is reconstruction, was his school broken down? So people's houses are broken down, they come and give money, you take deal your own institutions, and you tell the authorities that everything is okay. See, this thing is painful to me because he is a moral authority. And when moral authorities start telling lies, I don't blame the government at all, because the government depends on them. And they are absolutely unaware of the whole situation. Look at the moderator of the PCC. For how many months he has not come to Bamena? Why is he not coming to Bamena? And he used to come here almost every week on Nation with a whole line of cars. For how many years he has not passed here? And he will say that the relative camp, since the church is going on and people are praying, the relative camp. No, this thing is, I don't really blame the government, because it is these people who think that they are benefiting from the crisis, and they don't, because they are supposed to stand the gap between you and me who have nothing, and let the authorities know that no, people are suffering. Then he will tell you that after all, they have not reduced their Sunday offerings. It is always coming. If it is coming, then people have money. According to them, and if people come and don't have money, there is calm and everything is okay. In fact, Makati, I am absolutely disappointed in the bishop. I cannot go back. And I really wish he comes here and comes up where someone can ask a question. I will be the first to know it. I am absolutely disappointed in this. That is the truth. Thank you.
And now in Africa, as we've reported about the war in Sudan, the unrest erupted as Sudan appeared to be returning to the path towards democratic transition following 3 decades of military rule. Although international media reported that the sides have agreed to a 24-hour ceasefire, which is set to begin at 6 p.m. local time, according to latest news reports, fightings continued in parts of the capital, Khartoum, despite the planned 24-hour truce from yesterday. Sudan has been in the news. Ukraine came yesterday and received rapt UN attention. Ambazonia has been in war for 6 years and counting. When will the UN turn attention to the southern Cameroon's Ambazonian genocide? I believe black blood is supposed to matter everywhere.
Well, on Sudan's ongoing war, the numbers of casualties keep increasing on a daily basis. 270 people have been killed in the interim and 2,700 have been injured, according to the World Health Organization WHO, citing the authorities. Well, among those killed were 3 staff members with the World Food Program working in North Darfur, prompting a temporary suspension of activities across the country. UN agencies in Sudan have also halted most of their operations.
Now, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for an immediate cessation of hostilities, restoration of calm, and the start of dialogue to resolve the current crisis in Sudan. In a statement issued today, attributed to the spokesman for the Secretary General, he said that any further escalation of the fighting, it will have a catastrophic impact on civilians and will exacerbate the difficult humanitarian situation in Sudan. He called on UN member states in the region to support efforts to restore order and return to the transitional path.
The statement said that the Secretary General of the United Nations is communicating with the leaders of the region, reiterating the commitment of the United Nations to support the people of Sudan in their efforts to restore democratic transition and achieve their aspirations to build a peaceful and secure future. In a tweet on his account on the social networking site Twitter, Martin Griffiths, Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, expressed grave concern about the recent developments in Sudan. He said that nearly 16 million people, a third of the population, needs humanitarian assistance.
Well, he warned that the escalation of violence would only lead to a worsening of the situation. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Perez, also expressed his concern about the armed clashes in Sudan and expressed his full solidarity with the Sudanese people, who deserve better than that. He stressed the need for the urgent voice of reason to stop the violence and return to the previous promising path towards peace and the transition to civilian rule. Everything being equal, the UN should not wait for 8 million Southern Cameroonians to be slaughtered by the annexationist colonial genocidal La République du Cameroun before intervening. A staging time is set to save 9.
All right, and on the foreign scene, from our reports and records, you would agree that Eastern European states have been among the staunchest supporters of Ukraine since Russia invaded last year. But they are banning Ukrainian produce. We're asking, is it a punishment? But efforts to help their neighbor continue to sell agricultural produce have caused havoc in our own market. Farmers have protested for weeks against unprecedented inflows of Ukrainian produce, which come in duty-free under an agreement with the European Union. On the 15th of April, Poland's government banned the import and transit of agricultural produce from Ukraine until 30th of June. The question is why?
While Hungary quickly followed suit, on April 17, Slovakia banned some farm imports. Thought not grain and other countries are considering similar moves, while Eastern European countries curbing Ukrainian imports and thereby defying the EU. Well, to help Ukraine's battered economy and avert a global food crisis caused by of Ukraine's Black Sea ports, the EU lifted tariffs on a range of Ukrainian exports, including many agricultural products, and negotiated transit corridors through Bulgaria, Poland, and Romania. The idea was to ship the produce to the Middle East and Africa.
Yes, but that was to be done under an agreement brokered by the UN. Russia now lets some produce through the Black Sea, but a larger amount leaves Ukraine via road, rail, and river. Last year, 27 times more Ukrainian grain passed through Poland than in 2021. According to government estimates, but a shortage of trains and lorries slowed shipments to overseas markets, and much of the produce ended up in local ones. Plummeting prices hurt the incomes of local farmers, sparking two off-street protests.
Meanwhile, while Ukrainian farmers are wailing, their children are being deported. A report by researchers at Yale University, published in February, gives a detailed account of Russia's child deportation campaign. The analyst uncovered a network of 43 Russian facilities to which Ukrainian children have been moved since February 2022. Many of the camps are in Crimea and southern Russia, close to Ukraine.
Well, in sports, chase for continental glory resumes this weekend with Total Energies CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup kick-out stages. The road to the final of Africa's top club competitions, the Total Energies CAF Champions League and the Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup, reaches suspense phase this weekend. Now, this is as the continent's top club starts the first leg journey of the quarterfinals.
Well, in basketball, Xavier Tillman inspired the Memphis Grizzlies to a 103-93 win over the LA Lakers to tie their Western Conference playoff series 1-1. Tillman, 24, scored a playoff career-high 22 points and grabbed 13 rebounds as Memphis overcame the absence of injured Ja Morant. On sports, we'll have Gabellison tell us more.
Latest world sports. Football. Chase for continental glory resumes this weekend with Total Energies CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup knockout stages. The road to the final of Africa's top club competitions, the Total Energies CAF Champions League And Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup reaches suspense phase this weekend as continent's top clubs start the first leg journey of the quarterfinals. The action way on Friday evening as four-time champions AS Tunis of Tunisia make their way to Algeria to face JS Kabylie, who are working towards a third Total Energies Champions League medal, having won it in 1981 and 1990. The following day sees Tanzanian football powerhouses Simba AC welcoming the reigning champions Wydad AC in an afternoon fixture that is set to bring Dar es Salaam to a complete standstill. Later that evening, South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns, who have raised their hands as one of the competition favorites, face Algeria's CR Belouizdad, who are aiming to advance beyond the quarterfinal stage for the first time. In a corresponding tie, competition record holders Al Ahly welcomes Raja CA, who are yearning for Total Energies CAF Champions League gold medal, having last won it in 1999. Sunday will be a feast of Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup fixtures, with reigning Nigeria Premier League champions Rivers United kicking off their first ever Total Energies CAF Confederation quarterfinal fixture against Tanzanian champions Young Africans SC in the afternoon. Egypt side Pyramids FC then welcomes South Africa's Marumo Gallants in a North vs South tie in the evening, while Tunisia's US Monastir, a 100-year milestone, face Ivorian side ASEC Mimosas, who are working towards reclaiming their position in African club football. The quarterfinals round up with a marquee North African tie when Algeria's Ousma takes on Asfar of Morocco, who are gunning for their second Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup title, having won it in 2005 and finished second in the following season. Basketball. NBA playoffs. Memphis Grizzlies level series with LA Lakers in Game 2. Xavier Tillman inspired the Memphis Grizzlies to a 103-93 win over the LA Lakers, tie their Western Conference playoff series 1-1. Tillman, 24, scored a playoff career-high 22 points and grabbed 13 rebounds as Memphis overcame the absence of injured Ja Morant. Elsewhere, the Milwaukee Bucks tied their series against the Miami Heat 1-1 with a 138-122 win. The Denver Nuggets beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 122-113 to go 2-0 up in an attritional game. The Lakers' Anthony Davis suffered a cut eyelid, while LeBron James was drawn into a verbal back and forth with the Grizzlies' Dillon Brooks, who was not in the mood to apologize post-game. "I don't care, he's old," Brooks said of 38-year-old James. "I poke beers." The Lakers won the first game of the best-of-7 series on Monday, while the next game will be played on Sunday in Los Angeles. The Bucks were missing the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo, but had enough to welcome the Heat in their Eastern Conference playoff as 7 players scored double figures. The performance of the night arguably came from the Nuggets' Jamal Murray, who scored 40 points for the top-ranked side in the West. The 26-year-old missed the whole of last season with torn knee ligaments. Formula One. Michael Schumacher, 7-time F1 champions family, planned legal action after AI-generated interview. Michael Schumacher's family are planning legal action against the magazine, which published an artificial intelligence-generated interview with the former Formula One driver. Schumacher, a 7-time F1 champion, suffered severe head injuries in a skiing accident in December 2013 and has not been seen in public since. The Actuale ran a picture of a smiling Schumacher, 54, on the front cover of its latest edition with a headline of Michael Schumacher, the first interview. A strapline underneath reads, "It sounded deceptively real," and it emerges in the article that the supposed quotes had been produced by AI. The family has confirmed to news agency Reuters that they are planning to pursue the matter legally. Following his skiing accident, Schumacher was placed into an induced coma and was brought home in September 2014, with his medical condition since kept private by his family. Schumacher's son, Mick, used to drive for Haas in F1 and is currently a reserve driver for Mercedes. In a 2021 Netflix documentary, Schumacher's wife, Corina, said, "We live together at home. We do therapy. We do everything we can to make Michael better and to make sure he is comfortable and to simply make him feel our family, our bond. We're trying to carry on as a family. The way Michael liked it, and still does. And we're getting on with our lives. Private is private, as he always said. It's very important to me that he can continue to enjoy his private life as much as possible. Michael always protected us, and now we are protecting Michael. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports report. And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at the major highlights.
Tonight, we brought to you students being put at risk fighting occupiers of acclaimed university land, and also a woman tricked, detained at Seat Vert District Hospital, Yaoundé. We also brought to you Colonial Governor Adolphe Lily Lafrique pointing accusing fingers on funds.
Well, today we told you that inmates challenge illegal transfer of Abdul Karim to SED. Fourth Eight Bishops meeting, Archbishop Nkei appeals for end to human killings. La République du Cameroon's so-called reconstruction of Amberland is another delayed tactic to keep Ambazonians under captivity. And in sports, we told you that the chase for continental glory resumes this weekend with Total Energy's CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup knockout stages. On the foreign scene, we told you that Eastern European countries are banning Ukrainian produce. And that was it for tonight on Undaunted, bringing to the news on top stories. On behalf of Michael and Custer Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Good night, and God bless you.